All right, we're gonna start this project off with another one of the vivid blanks, and I'm gonna use a Forstner bit to drill down into one end of it. Have it in the chuck there. And I just went in a little ways and then took it over to the chop saw and cut it at a little bit of an angle. So I'm gonna use my little live center to go right in there, and then we will get this thing trued up and start shaping it. So it's a really nice blank. It has some wood on the top, so it's a hybrid, and then it's resin with a little bit of the glitter inside of it. I think it's gold flake is what it actually is. So I'm just using the skew chisels, lathe speeds running about 2,500 or so. I'll get all the corners knocked off, and then start shaping it. All right, so I switched to the negative rake cutter, the Easy Wood negative rake, for the bottom half of it. So I'm going to go back and forth as I'm turning this because the regular cutters cut better on the wood part, and then the negative rake cuts better on the resin. So I'm going to do another female form here. This part right here is going to be the body and the dress. Just shaping it. I kind of started with the negative rake and didn't do great on this part of the wood, so I switch over here in a minute, right there, and grab the regular cutter. I'm just going to run through this, get it all shaped, and then we will get it sanded and get it finished. Once I got it shaped, went ahead and ran through all the grits up to 600, and then we'll use the microfine Yorkshire grit to polish it up. So, and it works really well to go from 600 all the way up, and then I'll put a pins plus finish over the top of it. So you just put this stuff on with the lathe off, and then turn the lathe on it and buff it. And I just keep turning the paper towel, around until I get all of it off of there. And then I put a top coat of the Pins Plus. So this is a friction polish. So same thing with this, a little dab on the paper towel. You put it on, wipe it on with the lathe off, and then crank the speed up to about 2,000, and it just puts a nice glossy finish on it. I usually do about 2 or 3 coats with this stuff, and it dries in about 10 seconds, so it's really nice. Help support the companies that support our community. Now we're going to work on the head. So I used a piece of maple burl for that. We're going to go ahead and get that turned down. I'm going to put a tenon on the end of it. This will go in that hole that I used, or made with the Forstner bit. So this little tenon right here is the bottom of the neck, and that is going to go right into that hole. Then we'll just shape it, and I'll get this all sanded up too. And again, the lathe speed's running, about 2,500, 3,000 here. This is the neck, and then we'll do do the head, and I'm using the small spindle gouge for this. Now I went ahead and ran through all the grits on this, all the way up to 600. Then we'll get it parted off here. So you don't have to worry about sanding the top of the head. I'm going to put a hat on it, so you don't have to worry about that. I cut that little nub off with a pocket knife. We'll go ahead and change the jaws here real quick. And again, this is the easy wood chuck. That's why the jaws come out so quick. Swap them out. And then I'm going to use a piece of African Blackwood for the hat. Get it all cleaned up, and then I'm going to put a little dimple in the center of it, and the head will go up in there, and then just start shaping that. So I started out with the Easy Wood #1 hauler with a regular cutter on it to get the majority of it shaped up and resized. It cuts really nice, especially on in grain like this on the Blackwood. So I just kept bringing the head up and testing it until it went in there, down a little ways. So that part right there is the inside of the hat. I go back here in just a second because I forgot to put a little recess in there with the parting tool, because I need to flip this around and use a little jam chuck to finish off the top of it. So I used the parting tool and just made a little recess in there on that. Then we'll get some of this material cleaned out of there. I'll sand the inside of the rim here real quick before I part it off. Flip it around and finish the top. There we go. I'm just going to put a scrap piece of wood on here, bring down the tenon with that little recess, and we'll pop it on there and clean up the top of the hat and finish sanding it. So I just used a little Titebond 2, put a few dabs down in the center for the head, just kind of got it straightened up there, and then I went ahead and did the same thing, let that dry for maybe 15-20 minutes, and then went ahead and put a little bit of glue on the hat and put it on. There we go. She is all done. So I went ahead and let the glue set up and then just wiped out a little bit of the walnut oil on the top of the neck here. And that was the one thing I forgot to show in the video. So I cut that at an angle, and then right before I glued the head in, I just took the little disc sander on the lathe and sanded the little collar there smooth. I went ahead and ran through all the grits on that to clean it up. But yeah, love that African Blackwood. That finish on there is just walnut oil, and it just makes it pop. It is just gorgeous. But use maple burl for the head and the neck there, and then I love these blanks too. Doing different things with them other than just making handles and stuff like that. But super cool. Really like this. We were looking at it, and so we used where the burl comes up here. We used that for the front of the dress, and I think it came out really nice. So super cool. Fun little project. All right. Hope you enjoyed the video. Everybody have a great weekend, and we will see you next time. Take care.